welcome everyone to this sixth Tech Talk, sixth ALASCA Tech Talk of the year and sixth Tech Talk on the whole. We've been doing these Tech Talks already for half a year now. With ALASCA, and so I have some changes to the presentation that I usually show, so I will not take so much time today to explain what the Tech Talks are. I think most of you come to these Tech Talks repeatedly, so you already know what they are. And yeah, so we will start earlier with the real content of today's presentation. As you probably have seen, the session is being recorded, so we always upload the sessions and to you on YouTube, so that people that cannot join live can then watch the Tech Talks afterwards. So with this, I would just like to begin. As I said, today I have a shorter agenda as usually, so we will just start with today's Tech Talk and discussion. I will briefly introduce our presenter for today and the topic of the discussion and the presentation, and then we have some news as always, events and some things that we would like to share. And yeah, if any of you want to share anything then later on about any events or news that you think might be interesting to the rest of us, then just let us know afterwards. So with this, I would like to start. Today we have a very interesting topic, as always, and Alexander Predeschly from STACKIT is going to explain us their experience with deploying Gardener with the title, this interesting title for the presentation, going from lost in abstraction to GitOps all the way. So very briefly about Alexander, he's a cloud engineer at STACKIT, and these are some bullet points about his focus and what he values. He has worked on infrastructure topics for 20 years now, sorry, and has a very extensive experience in OpenStack, containers and Kubernetes. And he values very much teamwork, as I gather from this statement. So I will not take up the stage any longer. So whenever you're ready, Alexander, you can start sharing your slides and presenting your topic.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. So I will share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yes, we can see it.
Yes, that's good. Maybe we can also hide this one. I think it will be dropped. So hi, today I will talk about our topic, deploying Gardener, going from lost in abstraction to GitOps all the way. We are working with Gardener, which is our open source tool to mainly deploy our Kubernetes customer clusters. And to get to know who is we, I especially work for STACKIT quite some time now, and I'm in a team of 10 people, and we are SKE, so STACKIT Kubernetes Engine, and we will build this service for our customers. And as we are only 10 people to build a service which should run thousands of clusters, we have to do all the things we do in an automated manner. So all the things that should happen behind the scenes of a managed service should be done fully automated and should be hidden from the customers. That's why we are using Gardener. It's an open source project, initially started by SAP and still runs there. And it's meant for deploying Kubernetes clusters to hyperscalers. And as we see STACKIT also as a hyperscaler, we try to build this service on top of STACKIT and gives our users a unified Kubernetes experience. To give a quick introduction or high-level architecture view on Gardener, that you know why is it that a complex tool to install. On the right side, we have I would call it a normal Kubernetes cluster installed with kubeadm. We have their master nodes and worker nodes where all the workload is running, and it's just installed on VMs and you run it there and everything is fine. Some operations of that Kubernetes cluster is not that easy to do, especially if they are running on VMs, which might be breakdown or something like that. That's why we use it, I would call it Gardener way or the Kubeception way. So everything we do is just we take all what is running on a master node in a Kubernetes cluster and put it into a Kubernetes cluster. So we're running Kubernetes in Kubernetes. That's why we call it Kubeception. And to make that happen, we have a lot of moving parts, which comes with Gardener to bring the service up and running, to maintain the cluster healthy and get the Kubernetes nodes running and healthy and so on. So you can think of Gardener as a collection of Kubernetes operators, which runs all the small parts inside of our control plane. Yeah, with that said, why is it not that easy to install this whole thing? In the past, we use a community installer that's provided by the Gardener community. It's called Garden Setup. And it has an interesting approach to abstract all the environment or this landscape, this Gardener you want to install, abstract this in one single file. So put in all your credentials there, your settings, and all the things you want to have, and so on, in this file, and then run Garden Setup. And what you get out is a running Gardener or running Gardener on a Kubernetes cluster. This is perfect when you start with Gardener and want to know how is it working and just want to try it out and want to play around with it and so on. And we also started with it in the beginning, and we're very happy to have this, I would call it easy approach to just get it up and running without any further knowledge of all that small running parts that are that Gardener consists of. But as we get to know Gardener better and all the things and our requirements may be changed or were extended and so on, we saw that customizing this installer is not that easy. So we contributed back to the project and said, hey, okay, we need some settings in some special components, and we need some special settings here and there. Maybe we can do this. Maybe you can have a switch for turn it off and on again at some time and so on. We all get it up and running, but it was not that easy. So the Garden Setup consists of I would call it a tool which has a YAML-based templating language. And for that, it's quite complex to get into it. And also, as all the things are abstract. So we have that one file that shows the whole environment. And then in the back, some things, some templates that do all the magic. It's really not easy to extend. So in the end, we when we extended things, we just came up with the idea, okay, just change the templates instead of do the full abstraction and so on. And also operating that stuff was not that easy. So we had that one single fail where we just deleted CRDs for an important resource and have to care in the weekend session to get them all back, and that was quite painful. So we came up with the idea, okay, just do it another way, just do it a new way, and how could that look like? So we did a lot of brainstorming, we did a lot of discussions, what can we do? And the really important thing was just make it very simple. Make it not that dumb, make it simple enough for everyone to understand what is happening. We we also thought about, yeah, maybe we can write another tool with something in Golang in combination with Pulumi, do special things maybe with Helm charts and so on. But in the end, we said, no, let's do it in a way where many people are doing deployments and are very happy. You have a common ecosystem you can use. So what we end up with was GitOps, and therefore we checked for FluxCD. The GitOps toolkit behind or within FluxCD, all these controllers that are running all the deployments you need. For example, I will mention a few here. So we are heavily using the Helm controller and the customized controller to install these resources. And the interesting thing with that toolkit is you can make deployments depend on each other. And that's what we are heavily using. So we said, okay, that Helm chart is dependent on that Helm chart and so on. We built some easy to understand dependency between some things. And so we have these, I would call it simple deployments, which are just a Helm controller, for example, gets a custom resource that's called Helm release. It's nothing more than a reference to the chart repository and the values you want to install the Helm chart with. And that's quite all. You configure everything you need from that Helm chart in that one specification, and then fire it up against that Helm controller, and he will do everything to install the Helm chart as you want it. And then you can say, okay, this Helm chart depends on another one, and therefore you can build quite a good system, which is but easy understandable. And yeah, that's what we did. And we were quite happy with it. And Garden Setup, the past deployment, did also some special things like generating certificates and secrets and so on. For that, you also have tools in the Kubernetes ecosystem which can handle that. For example, Cert Manager or other tools. And yeah, for that, we don't have that problem we had in the past that all the things have to be generated beforehand or generated by another tool, and then you have to pass it to that one installation step, and then you can run the next one and so on. So we had a nice deployment chain where all the running parts are installed in the right order. Yeah, as I said today, we are going the GitOps approach. On the left side, you see just a folder structure, how our environments or our Git repo looks today. So we have the stages in folders based on folders. In GitOps, you have many approaches to do the GitOps way. Many say, okay, you have different repos, you have different branches. We for us, the folder way is quite perfect. So there are a few samples how promotions on our side look like, that we say, okay, we have changes that we tested, for example, in our development stage, and then just copy it over the changes to another pull request and copy it to the next stage. So so you can track all the changes quite good, and also do some rollback on all these scenarios you have with GitOps. But, and that's the main part, you have that single point of truth, and that is always the Git repository, and Flux is doing all the stuff in behind to get the things in that way you want to have it. This is our first approach. It's still evolving, so we did already some evolution, I would call it. So we put some modules, for example, in another repo and reference them now by Git tags and so on. Our next, or maybe next evolution will be to not put all the stuff in folders for every stage. Maybe have a common folder where we have all the things in that are really common in on all stages, and then just have overlays, no templates, overlays for the stage-specific configurations or namings or whatever. But what we try not to do again, as we had it with the garden setup, is to write any templates or abstract things that far that you have to understand all the level of abstractions. So we try to go most of the way with customize and then overlays for special or stage-specific configurations and so on, so that we don't have that repeat yourself thing. That would be one of the next parts we are implementing right away. Yes, and also as Gardener is also evolving, we think, or maybe there comes up the Gardener operator, which will be then much easier to configure for us, that we just have a custom resource that defines a Gardener landscape or a Gardener stage, which can be used then to install the whole Gardener stuff. Then our part will be much easier, as we have not all these Helm charts or customizations to run all the things. That would also be a nice thing, but that depends obviously on the community and the Gardener team to develop it to a state where you can use it in production and so on. Also, all the things that you can have with such an automated setup, we will also work on as test automation, end-to-end tests, automated promotions. That's the thing that we wanted the most when we build our new solution for the installation, that we can say, okay, some new Kubernetes versions, new OS versions, some settings and so on. You don't want to have real operator or a developer to have a look on and check, is every test done, and is that okay to push it to production and so on. Automated promotions is the thing that we are heavily interested in, to get all the changes from development stage to production in a way that we don't have to spend that much effort on it. Yes, with that said, that's just the message I want to transport, that we have a complex system here, but we don't need a complex tool to deployment. For deployment, I'm sorry, because it's not always the deployment that complex. We learned a lot about Gardener in the past, and we saw that Garden Setup was doing things that way, but you can do it also in another way, so the deployment get much easier and so on. And that's what we learned about the way, and wanted to share here with the community, that it can be much easier when you just think about it and involve the right people. So this was not only done by us. We had partners to work with in 23 Technologies, for example. I saw one colleague here in the call, and also we involved the Gardener team and so on. We have their Gardener community where we talk about things, and yeah, we try to make our life as easy as possible with this simple GitOps approach. Yeah, that's all from my side. Maybe any questions?
Thank you very much, Alexander. Yes, we have time now for questions, discussions, other experiences. people who want to know in more detail how something worked.
Yeah, I saw one hand, Michael. Or was it just clapping? I don't know.
Just clapping hands. So thank you
Okay.
for the presentation.
That's also fine. Thank you very much.
Don't mention.
Yes, if you have any questions, raise your hand or just unmute yourself and ask the question, or write it in the chat. That would also work.
I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can hear you.
Okay. You said you somehow evaluated which technologies you wanted to use and then you said you choose the easiest one, or the technology that is somehow mostly supported by the community. Or how was the process to get to this idea, and why did you decide for this criterium? You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean. We tried out a few things. So what we do basically is, as we did it with Kubernetes in the past, we did to try to install Gardener the hard way. We just do it all by hand, just to get a feeling about this. What are all these parts that are needed to do it, to get the installation running and so on. And we saw, okay, it's just a few parts that are really a little bit tricky, where you have to put some ideas on and so on. But the rest of it, it's mostly just deploying Kubernetes manifests. And we prefer simplicity over other things. We said, okay, let's do it in the most simple way that we can do it, to just get everybody familiar with it and make it easy to use. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Are there any other questions from the audience?
Yes, I would have a question. André Florat from Deutsche Telekom here. So is this something like you have, let me say, already open sourced? So are you in talk with Gardener itself or with the community itself? Would it be a new process of installing this?
I know there are ways to bring it open source. So it's some of the sources we are using are not our own. But we are talking with our partner to maybe bring it to open source, to make it available for the Gardener community, that they also can use it to install their things. Yes, but it's not yet open sourced.
Okay, thanks.
Just one question, please, from my side. It looks simple, and simple, of course, is nice. However, if the overall situation becomes more complex, simple sometimes might not be enough. So what do you feel, if you look into the future? Do you think it's going to be necessary to have, let's say, more enhanced management tools in the future because of various deployments and so on? So what's your feeling about this? May I ask?
Yeah, of course you are. You're allowed to ask. Yes, I think there will be some case in the future that might to make it necessary to have a more complex tool. But I don't think that always the deployment tool can handle this. So it will be a special situation, maybe a special update scenario, or we have to care for a special component or something like that. The core components are working very smooth that way. And I think when we come to a more complex situation, I don't think that we will handle this in the installation tool, as I call this one. I think we will handle complexity in another way, build an operator that will also deploy it here, but then do some magic stuff in the back or in any other way But at the moment, we didn't have any situation where we need a more complex scenario, and that's fine for us at the moment.
Thank you.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions? There's also a link in the chat if some of you want to check that out. Okay, then thank you very much, Alexander, for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, and now I would like to close off with some final points. Only a few minutes. 1 second, I'll share my screen again. Okay, so as usual, just a reminder, if you have any topics that you think might be interesting and you want to present them here, then just let us know. Send us an email to hello@alaska.cloud, and then we will be happy to take a look at your proposal and help you, support you with creating a presentation. And we're very happy to have different kinds of projects, different kinds of experiences. So just get in touch if you think you have something that could be interesting. And now I would like to briefly show you some news and events that we've had in the past weeks. So first, Alaska had the opportunity of attending the Open Infra Summit in Vancouver a couple of weeks ago. We had two presentations, one just to explain the mission of Alaska and what we're working on, and then one specifically on Yauk, which is the first open source project within Alaska. So it was a very good opportunity to present what we're working on and to discuss with others that are working on similar projects and share similar vision. And yeah, it was a very interesting thing. We will also write a little bit more on that on the newsletter that is coming out yeah, I think in the next weeks. So that's one point. The other thing is Alaska organized a roundtable on digital sovereignty this Monday. It was discussion on related to how local infrastructures are relevant to achieve digital sovereignty, the role of open source. And it was a very interesting roundtable discussion with business and politics experts. We had some representatives from the press and were there and asked questions, and so it was a very interesting thing, and also to share the vision of Alaska regarding digital sovereignty. So we hope to have some more on that published in the next weeks too. And now, if you have any other questions or any topics, any events, any news that you think might be interesting, then just feel free to speak up right now. So any kind of event that you think would be interesting, or anything you've heard, any news, any thoughts you'd like to share. Okay, doesn't seem to be the case. So just stay tuned to what we're doing for the Tech Talks. You can find all the information on our website. We also publish it through the Alaska LinkedIn channel. Send us an email if you want us to send you reminders of the Tech Talks. So we have a mailing list, and we can include you in the mailing list, and you will get the invitations automatically. And watch past Tech Talks on YouTube if you've missed any of the past Tech Talks. We always upload them there a few days after the talks. And with that, I'm almost done. I just want to let you know what we have planned for July. So we have no summer break. We still go. We will still have presentations throughout summer. And in July, last Thursday of July, as usual, at 2 p.m., we will have a presentation by Patrick from Cloud and Heat, and he will be presenting Krake. It's a workload orchestration tool, open source tool. And yeah, it's very interesting because it allows to optimize the distribution of workloads. So that's what's coming up in July. And for those of you who are not in holiday in July yet, yeah, we're very happy to meet you again. And if any of you are on holiday and want to join, then we're also happy to have you, of course. So with this, if there are no further comments or questions. Then we're done for today. Thank you to Alexander again for your presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you to the audience for being here, for the questions and the discussions. And yeah, we look forward to meeting you in the next Tech Talks. Have a nice summer.
See you next time. Bye.
Bye.